Here's a quick rundown of E46 M3 rear exhaust silencer clamps where they connect to the sensor pipe section. So we all know that is a bit of a problem area. The original flanges are put on at the factory and then the pipes are flared, so there'll be a flange here on the back box, then flange here and flange here on the center section. Then the pipes are flared and you can't get them off and they snap and break and things. So so it's a quick rundown of a couple of options that we have seen used or use ourselves. These are what people call Peugeot clamps. We don't use these ourselves. We don't find them that effective. We've seen various damages that have been caused by these and how exhaust pipes then sometimes need to be replaced later in life. So they might offer a fairly good fix at the point of installation. But what they're doing is clamping the pipe. They're crushing the pipe slightly. So the bolt system going across, as that tightens, that clamp and that clamp are being brought together, which crushes the pipe. Whereas the factory BMW solution or original clamp system was there's a clamp here, and the bolts went across this way. So as you tightened them, they pressed on the flare of the exhaust and pinched and held it together. Whereas these are trying to crush the pipe like you would expect on a Peugeot or something of a inferior quality, should we say, where the exhaust may have a slit system and you need to crush the pipe to make it seal. This doesn't really work. All it does, I think, or what we've seen in the past, and this one is a fairly clear example, is as the flange or the Peugeot clamp gets tightened, it seems to put enough pressure on the thin exhaust wall to crack the flare. So the flare is just behind that bolt, and then that black line, which has got a soot line which goes around the side, is a crack where the flare is being crushed and broken off, basically because of vibrations and how tight that clamp is holding it onto the exhaust pipe. So yes, it's held in position. There's a little bit of gas leak just up here, but as that car ages, it's possible that that flare will crack off and allow gases to escape, which may be an MOT failure in years to come. So we don't use those here. They may cost £10, even £5, but we'd advise people to look into it a little bit more thoroughly. If it's an emergency, then you have to use them, no problems, but for a long-term solution, they don't seem to really offer the correct clamping force nor in the right area. So then you've got a couple of other options. These are from i6 Automotive. I think they're a copy of a chap called TalkWrench who made some good ones. So there's this sort of design, which is a sort of a two-piece split design which laps over and joins with bolts. We've been fitting these for a while. They're not bad, they're fairly cheap. They're sort of anywhere between £35, £40 for a set. The trouble with these is that one of the pipes on the BMW exhaust system is a larger diameter because one of the pipes slips inside the other. So that means the pipe on the back box has to be slightly larger by about 2 mil, so the other pipe can slip inside. They don't take into consideration that. So one of these doesn't fit correctly. You've got a couple of options. You can either be hammering, so say it's like that, you can get one bolt in, you can be trying to hammer and hammer and hammer, or even use a smaller bolt like an M6 bolt, but it's not ideal at all. So what has to happen normally to get these to fit correctly is one of these has to be ground out inside on like a bench grinder or something like that. Take around about 1 millimeter off on each side, so it's a larger inside diameter which fits over the larger outside diameter M3 exhaust. And the only ones that we've ever used that actually work first time is this kit. It's not something that's commercially available. It's a kit that an individual has made by copying the BMW original system. So I think it's water jet cut, but I think it's about 20mm flanges, which look, when they're on the car, they look identical to the BMW ones. And the way that you say, well, how do they fit? Because there's nothing in them. So they slip over the flare, and then to reduce the size and keep them installed, You have these specially machined collets which come with the kit. So they sit inside, and then they're perfectly machined to match the flare of the exhaust. And as long as the flares are intact, these fit perfectly. And they even take into consideration that one pipe is larger, because you see the radius of this flare and this flare is different to this flare. So they take that into consideration so that they fit first time. You don't have to grind anything. They come with bolts and washers, and all you need to use is your original BMW flange, or purchase one of the original BMW flanges and one of the sealing rings. That is an expensive kit, but it does work first time. It's quicker to install because you don't have to grind anything, and in the long run it looks original and will last without damaging the exhaust system.